Most people learning Clay waste credits in the first week. They run AI prompts on entire tables before testing them. And today, I'll show you how to build free lead lists with sales leaders in Clay and create personalized opening lines and PS lines without burning through your budget. Let's dive in. I'm going to open up a new untitled workbook here. I'm going to go to sources and find people. Let's say in this instance that I'm looking to search for directors of sales. So what I'm going to do is make sure that they've been in the role for at least a minimum of 90 days. The number of experiences is not really going to matter. The experience keywords are going to be, let's say, pipeline. You could say outbound. So if they have these kind of keywords in their experience, then we're going to be able to call that out and mention that. Let's do location, the United States. From there, we could, if we wanted, add education, past experiences, but for now, I think that's going to be pretty good. I'm going to click continue, import to a new table. This way we're going to get a list of sales leaders. If we click on the find people enrichment, we get things like their name, domain, last name, first name, latest experience, company, etc. So we get quite a bit of good information here. What I always like to do first before I run any kind of enrichment is I like to understand exactly who I'm working with or who I'm communicating with. What I want to do is add an enrichment, and I want to enrich person. And what this is going to do, it's going to essentially give me the company and what is their actual job title. We're able to verify that it's current because this will pull from current data. When you start the table by searching people like we just did, it pulls from a rough database that's updated once, twice per month. When you use these action enrichments, these are currently up to date. So this is pulling directly. In this case, we have the LinkedIn profile URL. So we're good to go there. We can just add the chip right here. In this case, we don't have emails yet. So we'll just stick with that for now. I'm going to click continue to add fields, and then it's going to ask us what current information do you want me to pull directly from LinkedIn. Then you might want to select some fields that you already have as a redundancy and prioritize these newer fields over the ones in your current table because these newer fields might be more up to date. So what I'm going to do is select what is valuable here for this use case. In this case, I want to write PS lines and personalized first line. I'll click headline because a lot of people talk about what they do in their headline, and I'll include summary as well. Instead of selecting the experience, I like to go down to make sure I have their current experience and I pick their title, perhaps the organization if it's there, the company name. A summary of what the company does is also good, and a start date and end date as well, just to be sure. Based on that, we have a lot of data that we've been able to pull from this one single enrichment. And what that's going to do is start to build out the columns in the Clay table for me. After it's done with that, it's going to start enriching the first 10 rows. Fantastic. Now look at this. We've got the enriched person data, and now we actually have the titles here, depth and insight as to who these people actually are, right? The nice thing is we have their headline, we have their summary, so we know a little bit about the person. Now I'm going to click use AI, and then I'll click on configure. So I'm going to choose GPT-4. I'm going to say something to the effect of this. Create a opening one-liner that uses short words and short sentences as a observation of this person's main focus. Mention how we are working in the same industry space as them, and mention something interesting from their headline or summary, and keep it under 20 words. So we will start with a rough prompt right there. Now I'm going to provide input. So I'm going to say input. I'm going to say headline. I just did a forward slash and typed head, and that gives me the headline. If you hover over the chip here, you should see the preview. And this is the one. We have the headline now, and now we're going to pick the summary experience. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try it on 5 rows. And in this way, I'm able to iterate without spending any credits, and that's fantastic. So it saves us a little bit of credits. And then what I see here with these previews is how it's going to come out. So we see you're big on trust and listening, key traits in this space, impressive focus on lasting bonds. I'm going to add some stipulations, constraints and guidelines, no fake compliments. No fluff. Tone equals straightforward, no frills, implying high intelligence at a 5th grade reading level. The opening line should flow well into the postfix. So I thought this would be an interesting sort of postfix, and that way it gives it more direction and an idea of what I might follow up with after this. So let's see how that works. Saw your focus on immersive virtual experiences and global sales strategy. So I thought this might be interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit better. We'll just say an opening one-liner for the beginning of a cold outreach email. So you get out what you put in with this AI stuff, right? If I was running a specific campaign in a particular niche with a particular offer, I would give it a lot more context than what I've given here. But as you can see, this is a good way to iterate. You can get a quick MVP up and running really fast. They have a document and context section right here. If I have company information, I can upload it here. Or if I have campaign strategy information, I can upload a PDF right here. Now, what I can also do is, let's say we want to write a PS line. So what I'll do is I'll say, create a new output field, and I'll say PS line. This is going to be, the first one's going to be the opening line. Now I'm going to modify my prompt because I also want a PS line. So I'm going to say, your output should be one opening personalized first line to the beginning of a cold email. Secondly, and separately, a PS line. Okay, so now we're going to create a nice little PS line as well. I'm going to click save and don't run for the moment. I want to add more information about their work experience. So I'll go back to the enrich person data set. If we look at the enrich person enrichment, you can see we have a lot of data on this person. We've got things like their awards, their current experience, their past experience, certifications that they've had, where they volunteer. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to include that in the prompts. I'm just going to include the enrich person chip, and that way it's going to include all of the context about the person. And I also want to update, instead of a one-liner only, I want to add the PS line as well. For the PS closing line, I will give a little bit more guidance. So I'm going to say, for the PS line, look through the person's enrich person data and find something interesting either about their certifications, volunteering experience, or total work experiences, and find an interesting or insightful thread within those pieces. And if you can't find anything there, look at their endorsements and certifications and fall back on those. So this is a loose guidance that I'm giving, as well as loose data. I would usually give a lot more specificity, but in this case, I think it's good to illustrate the example of how we can iterate and refine going forward. So I click generate here. And what we're going to get now is a little bit of a different output. We get an array with different objects. The first object is the opening first line object, which we specified we want. The second object is a PS line. So I'm going to specify no generic marketing language. Don't use those type of phrases. They don't sound natural. So I've given it a little bit more tone specificity in here. And so I'll refresh this and look at the results again. All right, this is getting a little clearer. Very nice. Notice how it didn't put an exclamation mark. It's not overly congratulatory there. I like that. So we're getting really a lot better with the tone. You've built a success enterprise SaaS strategies. So I thought this might be interesting. See, you would talk like that, wouldn't you? And I just read these out loud like that, so I get a real feel for how it rolls off the tongue. Be really careful not to come off as patronizing or big brother. We want to talk at an even peer level with this person. And so avoid phrasing XYZ shows sharp execution and leadership in key initiatives. Use short words and simple phrases. So I'm providing a little bit more guidance where I see it needed. And since this is the second piece of what I said is a little bit different, I'm going to split it out into a separate bullet point just for organization's sake. What's been your biggest lesson from managing? Yeah, that's great. It's going to learn from these examples for the new ones that we generate as well. What I'm going to do is save and run 10 rows, and then we'll see what the outputs are going to be. So now we got a response. I'm going to click into these real quick, see what we've got. So we've got a JSON array here, a PS line and my opening first line. So what I'll do is add the PS line as a column, and then the opening first line will want to add as a column as well separately. Now we've got an opening first line and a PS line. So basically that's how it works. We started with a rough prompt that gave us generic compliments in marketing language. So we iterated several times. We added constraints like no M dashes, no fake compliments. We set the tone to be peer-to-peer. We gave it examples of PS lines that we'd actually say. Now we have opening lines and PS lines that sound natural. They reference real details. They don't patronize and flow into the next sentence. This iteration pattern is how we QA every campaign before launch for clients. Turn off auto update, test small batches, read the output out loud, refine, test again, and iterate. Your next step is to build your own version of this. Pick a free list, choose headline and summary as your data points, create opening lines and a PS line that you'd actually send. And if you want the clay table template with the full prompt, check the link in the description. And if this is helpful, subscribe. Thanks so much.